Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
We had a request from you to unpack a pretty dense stack of sources.
Dense is an understatement. They challenge, well, pretty much everything.
Right, everything we think we know about reality, the brain, and I mean, the very purpose of being human. This isn't just cosmology.
No, not at all. It's more like a detailed operational manual for the universe.
And that's our mission today, isn't it? To go beyond what these sources call apparitions, the surface appearances.
Exactly. To decode the unified governing system that they claim dictates all of perceived reality. We're looking at a world when the physical is the result, not the cause.
Okay, so let's unpack this carefully because the terminology alone is enough to make your head spin a little.
It is.
We're going to explore the universe as a kind of a custom cognitive incubator. We'll look at how this tiny nucleus in your brain acts as a command console.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, we need to dissect the redefinition of Dean not as religion, but as this rigorous 10-element governance protocol for essentially commanding reality.
It all has to start with that foundational shift.
Okay.
The sources are really insistent. The physical universe we experience is not absolute reality. It's just not.
So what is it?
They call it a customized incubator for one NAFS, which they shorten to the NAFS-centric universe, or NCU.
A custom incubator. So it exists for a single specific purpose. So what's being incubated?
That would be the NAFS. It's defined as the persistent cognitive essence.
The cognitive essence.
Right. The NAFS is real, but, and this is key, it's not absolute. Its development, its growth through experience, is the entire point of this simulation.
So everything else.
Everything else, the chair you're sitting in, your own hands, the world outside, it's all an apparition.
An apparition. So if the NAFS is the real core and my body is an apparition, that just completely reverses the standard scientific model.
It does.
Because that model says consciousness arises from the physical brain. But this suggests the cognitive essence might be the one creating or maybe selecting the physical processes it perceives.
Selecting is a great word for it. They actually model this with something called the TQG-CFE equation.
Hmm.
We don't need to get into the math.
Okay, good.
But the core concept is, essential. The NAFS doesn't just passively receive reality, it's actively generating it.
How?
Think of it like a quantum system. The whole universe exists as a superposition of possibilities. The NAFS, based on its cognitive state, its intent, it actively selects and amplifies one path.
And that collapses the superposition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It collapses it into the perceived, tangible reality, the apparition.
Wow. Okay, that makes the reality we experience incredibly personalized
Yeah.
and flexible.
Sure.
Because if my physical state, my spine and organ, is just an apparition that came from a selection process, then healing isn't some miracle.
Right.
It's just providing a new, better input to the system. It's like a governed system update.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Because a biological structure is an apparition, it can be regoverned by the system's creator if the NAFS issues the correct stable command.
So these stories of profound physical transformation, like bone regrowth.
It's simply the apparition conforming to the highest cognitive instruction.
Okay, so if the NAFS is issuing these huge commands, there has to be a physical interface, right? Something in our skull that manages all this.
There is. And the sources are very specific. They point to the locus coeruleus, the LC.
This is where the metaphysical really meets the neurological.
It is. The locus coeruleus, it's this tiny bluish nucleus in the brainstem. Neuroscientists know it as the main source of norepinephrine. It handles attention, arousal, memory.
Right.
But in this governance model, its role is elevated. It becomes the governance highlighting console.
A console. That implies an interface, an OS. So why the LC? What makes it the interface for the NAFS?
Its function. It's all about attention and selection. If the world is a superposition of data, the apparition of the LC is your personal reality highlighter.
So it filters things.
It filters and highlights. Its operation, what information gets prioritized, is directly governed by the cognitive state of the NAFS.
Which brings us to probably the most relatable example in the sources, the white Toyota Tundra effect.
Yes. It's a fantastic illustration of the console in action.
People misuse this idea all the time in pop psychology, but here it has a very technical meaning.
A very precise one. If you want a specific outcome, like seeing a white Toyota Tundra, you aren't trying to magically create a truck.
What are you doing?
You are issuing a high-fidelity search command to your LC console. You're telling it to filter the entire field of apparition data for a match.
And if the command is governed correctly, so it's clear, it's stable.
Then suddenly, tundras appear everywhere. Solutions, people, resources related to your goal, they all get highlighted in your environment.
And this is where they report those incredible benefits.
That's right. The sources claim things like a 400% improvement in learning speed, a 500% acceleration in skill acquisition. It's not magic.
It's just maximal resource allocation by the brain.
Based on clear input from the NAFs and the apparitional lines.
But what happens when the commands are faulty? When the input is bad? This is where it connects to mental health, I assume.
Directly. If the LC is running corrupted programming, it highlights threats instead of solutions. So anxiety in this model isn't a psychological defect,
It's a what?
a predictive error in the brain.
Yeah.
The console is just amplifying threats based on faulty inputs, what they call Iblis commands.
So the console, the hardware, is working perfectly. It's just running bad code.
The code is the problem.
That is such an actionable concept. So if the LC is the hardware console, we absolutely need the manual for the software. And this takes us to the core governance protocol, DEAN.
And this redefinition of DEAN is the absolute heart of the framework.
Yeah.
It's so misunderstood when it's translated as just religion.
Right.
The sources define DEAN as the established order. Linguistically, it means things that have been made or established in a certain intended way. It's the universal system architecture.
The architecture. And inside that architecture, there's a protocol for extracting truth, or LHOC.
Yes, the 10 elements of DEAN. And it's not enough to just list them. We have to understand why these 10 specific elements make up the operating manual.
Because if you miss one, the whole system gets corrupted.
The apparition you perceive becomes defective.
Yes. Okay. Let's run through them quickly, and then maybe we can focus on a couple crucial ones. The 10 elements are terminology, roles, dues, authorities, rules, policies, procedures, actions, domains, and exceptions. So why is terminology number one? That seems basic.
Because you cannot govern what you cannot precisely define. If you don't have exact, agreed-upon definitions for NAFs, for apparitions, for Iblis,
Yeah.
your LC console is getting fuzzy, low-fidelity commands,
So governance literally starts with language.
unambiguous language.
Yeah.
You can't debug a system if you mislabel the parts.
That's brilliant. It frames linguistic clarity as the foundation of mental health. Okay, what about another one? Roles.
Roles.
Hmm.
This is where massive systemic errors happen.
How so?
We confuse the apparition, like our brain or our mind,
Mhm.
with the authority, the NAFs.
Yeah.
The apparition is the tool, but people assign it the primary role of governance, and that leads to chaos.
You have to know your place in the system.
You have to understand, your role is the programmer of the console, not the creator of the apparition. It's the fundamental starting point.
This systematic approach, it leads to some really counterintuitive definitions, especially for a concept like Iblis.
Yes, traditionally, it's an external evil force.
Devil.
Right, but here, it's completely redefined as an internal component.
What is it?
Iblis is defined as our inherent biases and predilections. It's the cognitive flaws and reasoning shortcuts built into our NAFs.
Built-in flaws. And crucially, the sources say it's made from NAR, which they translate as.
Man-made domain elimination. In other words, our own limited rational thinking that only operates within the boundary of the apparition.
Hold on, you're saying the sources categorize rational thought itself as the flaw?
As the potential flaw, yes.
How can they justify that? I mean, all of modern science is built on rational analysis.
And it's not that rational analysis is bad, it's that it's limited. It becomes the flaw. It becomes Iblis when it assumes absolute authority and ignores the higher governance structure of the 10 elements.
It's the bug in the apparition's local OS.
A bug that pushes back against the NAF's command. It's an essential component for growth, but it absolutely must be governed.
Okay, so if Iblis is that inherent self-limiting bias, then the defense mechanism has to be just as rigorous, and that's Taqwa.
And again, Taqwa is redefined dramatically. It's not fear of God.
So what is it?
It is discipline protection. It's the firewall discipline.
F-fire.
A firewall. It is the rigorous, continuous adherence to all 10 elements of DEAN to prevent system corruption from those biases, from Iblis. If you maintain Taqwa, you maintain the integrity of your Arsh.
Which they define as your cognitive operating system, your worldview.
Exactly.
And if you fail to maintain that firewall, or you confuse the roles we've just talked about, you get the ultimate system failure, shirk.
Shirk is kernel-level corruption. It's when an individual, maybe using something like the law of attraction, truly believes, my mind creates my reality.
But isn't that what we've been talking about?
Not quite. The sources identify that belief as shirk because it attributes absolute creative power to the apparition, the mind or brain,
Which is just a subordinate tool.
a tool deployed by the governor. It's confusing the console programmer with the system designer.
That brings us to the practical protocol. How do you correct this? How do you run those high-fidelity commands?
Through Salat.
Which is also redefined.
Of course. Salat is defined as the programming language. It's the command sequence, the continuous disciplined process of acquiring governance knowledge and staying aligned with the 10 elements. It is the active submission protocol.
So when we hear these incredible stories of transformation, like Dr. Joe Dispenza healing his spine against all medical odds by visualizing it,
The sources recontextualize that. It's not a miracle. It's a successful execution of a high-fidelity NAFS command protocol.
he achieved a state of extreme focus and coherence.
An incredibly stable and precise command from the NAFS. The NAFS commands the LC console, which filters the apparition data, and the governor updates the apparition, the physical body, to reflect that new, aligned reality.
The apparition has to conform.
It must.
This all sounds incredibly rigorous. I mean, potentially overwhelming. Is there any kind of a safety net?
There is. The accountability policy is based on IMAN, which means safety or security, and it's achieved by adhering to the governance process.
And what's the core policy?
The system guarantees that the friction, the trial, the difficulty of any experience, it will never exceed the NAFS's capacity. It's text WISA,
So you're only ever challenged to the level that you can actually handle.
to the exact level your persistent cognitive essence can handle for growth.
Okay. We've gone from a NAF-centric universe where physical reality is an apparition, all the way to a detailed operational manual where Dean gives us the 10 elements we need to program our own perception.
It's the essential cognitive alignment. The sources say it's what's required to move from being an accidental species, operating on chaotic, rational thought, to becoming a governed civilization.
And the potential payoff is just staggering.
They predict that once humanity deploys these protocols systematically, mental illness will be as rare as smallpox is today, and human cognitive potential will be unlocked to levels currently unimaginable.
That is an incredible vision, and it's all based on cognitive discipline. But the change starts now, right, with the individual NAFs?
It has to.
So let me leave you with this final thought to mull over. If the physical world is an apparition, just waiting for a governed command, a command issued through your Locus Coeruleus console, what faulty Iblis commands, what limiting rational biases are you still running in your system right now?